Let's bring in some analysis now. Thembisa Fakude, Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues, joins us. Thembisa, thank you for being with us. Hamas took hostages from the military. It's still unclear how many are being held. Everybody's trying to get information. Are you asking the question that we've heard a few times, why didn't Israel see this coming? Was it a massive failure of intelligence?
Well, it was a massive failure of intelligence, but we now know that the internet signals were jammed by the Palestinian fighters, hence the penetration of the Israeli borders by the militants or the Hamas fighters and other fighting or groupings from Gaza into Israel. So the reason why it was the case is because their internet was jammed by the Palestinians, and that's why you saw that infiltration. So it could be judged or seen as a total breach of intelligence and preparedness by the Israeli security apparatus.
Well, interesting how technology was used as well. Israel has declared war. I don't know if you just heard the report from Beirut in Lebanon. People are concerned that this could get a whole lot bigger. Do you expect escalation?
I think there's going to be escalation. Israel has to make a point, as it always does, that such crimes will not go unpunished. I think even Hezbollah, notwithstanding the attacks earlier this morning, have been careful not to send rockets inside Israel. They've used or they've targeted the normal installations just outside the Sheba farms, which is a disputed land area in Lebanon, which is currently controlled by the Israelis. So that attack this morning was seen as part of that ongoing war between Hezbollah and Israel on the Sheba farms. And I think until we see the rockets from Hezbollah directed elsewhere in Israel, then we can safely say then that the Hezbollah has joined this war. But until then, what they've said is that they're not neutral to this conflict. And as your correspondent correctly say, they will wait for the signal from Hamas. But I don't think we should jump the gun and say that because of the attacks that occurred this morning, Hezbollah has now joined this war. Importantly is that the Lebanese people are not in support of this war because of obvious reasons, that the economic situation is dire, and they do believe that Hezbollah shouldn't continue to be a parallel army, a parallel force within Lebanon. They should take their cue and leadership from the government of Lebanon, notwithstanding that there's not that much functioning government. But again, Hezbollah is an organization within Lebanon, and it cannot continue acting on its own. So the unpopularity of this war within the Lebanese community will make it very hard for Hezbollah to continue or heed any notice from Hamas to join this war.
Thembisa, Gaza has been subject to a blockade for many years. There's a lot of bitter resentment. We all know about that. But the timing of this specific attack, the U.S. Secretary of State has said this could be about disrupting what we've seen in the news, the normalization of ties between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Does Saudi Arabia have anything, do you believe, to do with the timing?
I don't think so. I think an organization of such an attack would have taken at least more than 6 months. So I don't think it had to do with the possible normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. I think Hamas and other groupings within Gaza have planned this long time ago, and for obvious reasons. That, as you correctly say, the occupation and the blockade of Gaza has gone for far too long. Gaza has been blockaded from 2007, nothing going in, nothing going out. Now we know, for example, that Israel has since cut the electricity supply, and the next thing that will happen is water supplies are going to be cut off. Young people in Gaza cannot freely fly out of Gaza to seek opportunities elsewhere. So it's an open-air prison, as many people are saying. So because of those reasons, you have people that will resist. We all accept, and many around the world accept, that Israel is an occupier and that Gaza is occupied. So for any group of people occupied, you must expect resistance. And this is what the Palestinians are doing. They're resisting that occupation, which has been very, very severe in terms of the livelihoods and general economic and political development of the Strip. And this was expected to happen as long as Israel continues to suppress the freedom of movement, economic participation and engagement between the Gazans and the outside world. You are likely to see this continuing. But of course, now the world is waiting for the reaction of Israel after what happened yesterday. And I think the interventions at the moment will be for Israelis not to escalate. And in terms of the response, it has to take into consideration the current humanitarian situation that is in place in Gaza at the moment.
So, I mean, Israel has vowed vengeance. What are its options? What do you expect? What you're suggesting, though, is that there are a lot of phone calls to the Israeli state saying, please try and contain your response.
Well, Israel has got a lot to lose in this regard. One is the Hamas has got a lot of captives from Israel. And if that happens, you are likely, therefore, to have those people who are captured by Hamas killed. One. Number two is Israel is also hoping to normalize relations, as we collect to say, with Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia will find itself in a much more complicated situation if it continues with the normalization, which, by the way, will benefit Israel. If Saudi Arabia continues with normalization with Israel, it stands losing support not only from the Arab world, but from the Muslim world in general. The other thing is you are likely, again, to empower Iran, which at the moment is seen to be supporting Hamas. And if Israel does continue with its plans of attacking Hamas, Iran will be seen again as a big brother, and it might just come to the assistance of Hamas. And if that does happen, it will sideline not only Saudi Arabia, but all other countries that have since joined into what is known as the Abrahamic Accord, including United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, and others, and of course Egypt, because Iran will be the only one seen to be supporting the people of Palestine in the absence of support from the brethren in the region. So Egypt has to be very careful. It has to consider its future diplomatic relations, particularly with Saudi Arabia, who happens to be the custodian of the two holiest places in Islam, Makkah and Medina. And if they do happen to clinch that deal between themselves and Saudi Arabia, you are likely to have all other Muslim countries and Arab countries joining in normalization of relations between Israel and the Arab world. So their action right now is very, very key, because once you alienate Saudi Arabia or put Saudi Arabia in a corner from which they can, have no choice but to refuse going on with negotiations, Israel has got much, much more to lose.